Welcome. I'm Adam Smith, a nutritionist specializing in practical, science-backed nutrition. Whether your goal is better energy, weight balance, or overall wellness, this channel is here to guide you with clarity and credibility. In today's video, we will discuss a common health concern that many people notice after the age of 60, swelling of the eyelids. You may wake up and find one or both eyelids puffy and wonder what is causing it. This condition is called eyelid edema, which simply means a buildup of fluid in the tissues around the eye. It can be related to aging changes, allergies, medications, or underlying health conditions. It usually starts the same way. The morning rarely announces itself with urgency. For most people, it arrives quietly, easing its way into consciousness rather than demanding attention. There is often a brief stretch of time, neither fully asleep nor fully awake, when the mind drifts gently, unburdened by plans or responsibilities. The body stirs first, a subtle shift beneath the covers, a slow inhale, the quiet realization that another day has begun. You sit up, perhaps more carefully than you once did, and place your feet on the floor. The room is still, familiar. Nothing feels wrong. Nothing feels particularly different. The routines of the morning unfold almost without thought, guided by years of repetition rather than intention. You walk toward the bathroom, reach for the light, and step in front of the mirror. At first, there is no judgment. No criticism, just recognition. And then there is a pause. The face looking back at you seems heavier. Not dramatically so, not alarmingly, but different enough to interrupt the routine. The eyelids do not open as easily as they used to. The skin above them appears thicker, softer, as if it has settled into place overnight and has not yet decided to move. Beneath the eyes, there is a fullness that wasn't always there, a quiet swelling that softens the natural contours of the face. You blink once, then again. Perhaps you lean in slightly, bringing your face closer to the mirror, tilting your head from one side to the other. The movement is instinctive, almost unconscious, as though a different angle might provide a different answer. You may gently touch the skin below your eye, feeling its texture, its softness, noticing how it responds beneath your fingers. The thought arrives without effort, shaped by years of cultural repetition and quiet acceptance. This is just age. It is an explanation that feels both reasonable and relieving. Aging is expected. It requires no investigation, no change, no responsibility beyond acceptance. Faces change over time. Skin loosens. Muscles soften. Features shift. This is what happens, and everyone knows it. So you step away from the mirror and continue with your morning. But sometimes the image lingers. Throughout the day, the heaviness around the eyes often fades. By afternoon, it is barely noticeable, and by evening the face looks familiar again, only for the swelling to return the next morning, following a pattern that can persist for years. What is rarely explained is that this kind of morning puffiness is usually not about skin or aging itself, but about how the body manages fluid. After 60, the body becomes more deliberate. Systems that once adjusted easily now require clearer signals. The kidneys, in particular, are not failing, but they are less willing to compensate for imbalance. This change is subtle, and most people notice it only in the mirror. The kidneys regulate fluid continuously, responding to hydration, salt intake, hormones, and blood pressure. When balance shifts, the body adapts by holding onto fluid rather than risking loss. This protective response becomes visible overnight. Lying flat allows fluid to redistribute towards softer tissues, and the eyelids, thin and delicate, are often where it settles first. This does not signal disease or failure. It signals communication. Because swelling appears at the surface, most people reach for surface solutions, creams, rollers, cooling tools. These can feel soothing, but they do not address why the fluid is there. Fluid does not collect in the eyelids because the skin is aging. It collects because the body has decided to retain water, a decision made far below the surface. A more useful question than how do I get rid of this is what is my body responding to? That shift invites observation instead of frustration and leads to changes that are more effective and sustainable. This change is subtle enough that most people never notice it directly. Instead, they notice the reflection in the mirror. The kidneys play a central role in regulating the volume of fluid in the body. Every hour of every day, they filter the blood, deciding what should stay and what should leave. They respond to hydration, salt intake, blood pressure, hormones, and the body's overall state of balance. When everything is aligned, this process is smooth and largely invisible. But when the balance shifts, even slightly, the body adapts. It does so quietly, conservatively, often choosing to hold on to fluid rather than risk losing too much. This is not a mistake. It is a survival mechanism refined over thousands of years. From the body's perspective, holding fluid is safer than losing it. The challenge arises when this protective response becomes a daily pattern. The puffiness is not random. It reflects quiet overnight decisions influenced by sodium intake, hydration, meal timing, and how efficiently the kidneys were able to release excess fluid. After 60, the margin for imbalance narrows. The body does not ask for perfection, only cooperation. And the eyes are often the first to show whether that cooperation is happening. The structure of the eye area explains why. The skin is thinner and less supported than elsewhere in the body, making it especially sensitive to fluid changes. During the day, gravity draws fluid downward. At night, that influence disappears, allowing fluid to move upward and settle where resistance is lowest. In younger bodies, this resolves quickly. With age, kidney filtration slows slightly, blood vessels lose elasticity, and hormonal signals soften. The body becomes more cautious, choosing retention over depletion. This is not a flaw, but built-in wisdom. Modern habits often work against it. Sodium is widespread in the food supply, even in foods that don't taste salty. At the same time, many people drink less water as they age, whether from habit or concern about nighttime urination. High sodium combined with low hydration signals risk to the kidneys, prompting fluid retention. This is why swelling is often worse with dehydration, not excess water. Adequate hydration, especially earlier in the day, reassures the kidneys and encourages release. Late, heavy, sodium-rich meals do the opposite, leaving little time for processing before sleep. Because the effects are delayed, the connection is easy to miss. People adapt instead, accepting puffiness as cosmetic, masking it, or ignoring it altogether. In doing so, they miss a signal that affects more than appearance. Fluid balance influences blood pressure, energy, joint comfort, and cardiovascular workload. When people begin to observe patterns, lighter mornings after home-cooked meals, heavier eyes after restaurant food, improvement with steady hydration, the body's message becomes clearer. These observations are not about blame. They are about learning. The goal is not to eliminate sodium or force change, but to restore balance. Certain foods help not by pushing the body, but by supporting the kidneys in doing what they are designed to do, giving the body fewer reasons to hold on. The skin around the eyes is thinner than anywhere else on the body. It is delicate, lightly anchored, and supported by very little fat or connective tissue. This design allows the eyes to move freely, to express emotion, to blink thousands of times a day without resistance. It is a remarkable adaptation, but it also makes the area especially sensitive to changes beneath the surface. When fluid moves through the body efficiently, this sensitivity goes unnoticed. The eyelids look much the same from day to day, but when fluid begins to linger, even in small amounts, the eyelids have no way to disguise it. There is simply nowhere for that extra fluid to go. This is why the eyes often notice first. During waking hours, gravity assists circulation. Excess fluid tends to settle in the lower parts of the body, particularly the legs and feet. This is why many people notice sock marks at the end of the day or feel a mild heaviness in their ankles after standing or sitting for long periods. Overnight, however, gravity's influence changes. Some foods push the body aggressively. They force fluid out quickly, often at a cost. Others work more gently. They support the kidneys, respect the body's rhythms, and encourage balance rather than stress. Three humble foods do this particularly well, not because they're trendy, not because they promise miracles, but because they work with human physiology. When the body lies flat, fluid redistributes. It moves upward, spreading more evenly throughout the tissues. If the body has retained more fluid than it needs, that fluid will seek out areas where resistance is lowest. The eyelids, soft and accommodating, become a natural destination. For younger bodies, this redistribution often resolves quickly. Kidneys filter efficiently. Hormonal signals are clear. Excess fluid is released through urine without much hesitation. By morning, there may be little evidence of what happened overnight. With age, this process slows, not because something is broken, but because the body becomes more cautious. Kidney filtration rate gradually declines over decades. Blood vessels lose some elasticity. Hormonal signaling becomes less sharp. The margin between enough and too much fluid narrows. As a result, what once passed unnoticed now leaves a visible trace. It is important to understand that this does not mean the kidneys are failing. For most people, it simply means the kidneys are less willing to compensate for repeated imbalances. They do not adjust as quickly to late meals, high sodium intake, inconsistent hydration, or disrupted sleep patterns. They respond by choosing safety, holding on to fluid rather than risking depletion. This is not a flaw. It is wisdom built into the body. The difficulty arises when modern habits quietly work against this wisdom. Many people consume more sodium than they realize, not because they deliberately salt their food excessively, but because sodium is woven into the modern food supply. Breads, sauces, soups, cheeses, frozen meals, restaurant dishes all contain sodium in amounts that add up over the course of a day. At the same time, many people drink less water as they age. Sometimes this is intentional, driven by concerns about nighttime bathroom trips. Sometimes it is simply habit. Thirst signals also become less reliable over time, meaning the body may be mildly dehydrated without producing a strong sense of thirst. This combination, higher sodium intake and lower hydration, creates a quiet problem. When the body senses dehydration, it activates mechanisms designed to conserve fluid. One of the primary tools it uses is sodium retention. Sodium binds water. When sodium stays in the body, water stays with it. This is why swelling is often worse when a person drinks too little water, not too much. From the body's perspective, dehydration is a threat. Fluid retention is protection. Overnight, this protection becomes visible. Many people are surprised to learn that drinking adequate water earlier in the day often reduces morning puffiness rather than increasing it. Hydration reassures the kidneys that fluid is available. In response, they become more willing to release excess sodium and water instead of storing it just in case. Timing matters here. Water consumed earlier in the day is more likely to be processed efficiently. Kidneys are most responsive during waking hours, when blood pressure is higher and hormonal signals encourage filtration. Drinking large amounts of fluid late in the evening, on the other hand, may contribute to nighttime disruptions without providing the same benefit. Food timing plays a similar role. A heavy, sodium-rich dinner eaten late leaves little time for the body to process excess fluid before lying down. Digestion, circulation, and filtration all slow during sleep. The result is fluid that remains in circulation overnight, ready to redistribute toward the face. None of this is dramatic. None of it produces immediate symptoms that feel urgent. That is why it often goes unnoticed for so long. People adapt. They buy new eye creams. They avoid mirrors in the morning. They accept puffiness as a cosmetic inconvenience rather than a physiological signal. And in doing so, they miss an opportunity to support their body in a way that benefits far more than appearance alone. Fluid balance affects blood pressure, joint comfort, energy levels, and cardiovascular workload. When the body holds fluid unnecessarily, the heart works harder. Blood vessels experience more pressure. Tissues feel heavier. Letting go of excess fluid, gently, consistently, can bring relief in subtle but meaningful ways. The eyes are simply the most visible messenger. Understanding this changes the emotional response to morning puffiness. Instead of frustration or resignation, there is context. Instead of self-judgment, there is information. And information allows choice. It allows a person to notice patterns. Perhaps the swelling is worse after restaurant meals. Perhaps it improves after days when meals are lighter and earlier. Perhaps travel, with its processed foods and disrupted hydration, makes it more noticeable. These observations are not about blame. They are about learning how one's body responds. Over time, these patterns become clearer, and when they do, they point toward solutions that are not harsh, not restrictive, and not extreme. They point toward small adjustments that respect the body's need for balance rather than control. In the next part, the focus will shift toward how food, particularly salt, potassium, and hydration, quietly influences the body's overnight decisions, and why certain simple foods can help restore balance without strain. The goal is not to force the body to change, but to give it fewer reasons to hold on. This is where certain foods become helpful not because they flush the body or force rapid change, but because they support the kidneys in doing what they are already designed to do. Celery, blueberries, and parsley may seem unremarkable at first glance. They do not carry the dramatic reputation of detox products or supplements. They do not promise instant results, and that is precisely why they work so well. Celery, for example, is often dismissed as little more than water and fiber. Yet this combination is exactly what makes it useful. Its high water content helps dilute sodium in the bloodstream, reducing the concentration that prompts fluid retention. At the same time, celery contains natural compounds that gently encourage urine production without irritating the kidneys. Unlike aggressive diuretics, Celery does not push the body into loss. It invites release. This distinction matters. When the body feels forced, it resists. When it feels supported, it responds. Celery also has a calming effect on digestion. It rarely causes bloating when eaten in moderate amounts. It does not spike blood sugar, which is important because blood sugar fluctuations can influence sodium retention. Stable blood sugar supports stable fluid balance. Blueberries operate differently. They do not primarily affect urine output. Instead, they strengthen the small blood vessels that regulate where fluid stays and where it goes. Around the eyes, these vessels are especially important. When they are fragile or inflamed, fluid leaks into surrounding tissue, creating puffiness even when overall fluid levels are not excessive. The antioxidants in blueberries support vessel integrity, helping fluid remain where it belongs, inside the bloodstream, rather than seeping into the eyelids. This is why puffiness is not only about how much fluid the body holds, but also about how well it is contained. Parsley adds another dimension. As taste sensitivity changes with age, many people rely more heavily on salt to make food satisfying. Parsley offers brightness, freshness, and complexity without sodium. Used generously, it allows meals to feel complete and flavorful without heaviness. Parsley also has a long history as a mild, supportive diuretic, not in the sense of forcing fluid loss, but in gently encouraging filtration. When used as a food rather than a concentrated supplement, it works in harmony with the body's natural rhythms. Together, these foods create a shift that feels almost unremarkable at first. There is no dramatic moment, no sudden transformation. Instead, there is a gradual change in how the body responds overnight. The eyes begin to feel lighter in the morning. The face looks more like it did the night before. Rings fit more comfortably. Socks leave less of an impression by evening. These changes are often noticed only after they have already begun. The goal is not strict rules, but rhythm. When the body begins to feel lighter in the morning, it's natural to look for a formula to follow. Yet the body responds best to steady, supportive patterns rather than rigid control, especially with age. Small choices placed well are often enough. Blueberries in the morning support circulation as fluid redistributes. Celery during the day adds hydration and gentle kidney support. Lighter, earlier dinners flavored with herbs like parsley reduce overnight fluid strain. Drinking water earlier in the day and tapering in the evening further supports balance, as does slight head elevation during sleep. When these habits align, the body adapts. The kidneys filter more easily, fluid moves through instead of settling, and morning puffiness appears less often and fades more quickly. It's important to recognize limits. Not all eyelid swelling is diet-related. Allergies, medications, and heart, kidney, liver, or thyroid conditions can all cause swelling that requires medical attention. Sudden or painful swelling, vision changes, shortness of breath, or rapid weight gain should always be evaluated by a healthcare professional. For most people, improvement is gradual and quiet. Over time, mornings feel easier and the face looks more familiar. The eyelids, often dismissed as cosmetic, are actually early messengers of fluid balance. When their message is met with steady habits rather than quick fixes, the body responds. So tomorrow morning, treat the mirror as information, not judgment. Begin gently, adjust slowly, and let the body lead.